Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Favorite Live Album by Year. Today we have arrived at 1974. And another pretty special year in the history of rock and roll music, and specifically live albums. As you know, we are doing this show each and every day throughout the month of September here in 2021. Each day is going to represent a different year. I'm going to pick my favorite live album from that year and a runner-up. And again, I'm going by release dates here. Okay, so and like I mentioned before, there is a reason for that. We've got lots of archival things, live releases that have come out in recent years. So in 1995 and 1998 and 1989, you get these archival live releases from the vaults, from stuff from the 60s and 70s. There was plenty of really good stuff released in the years that they came out in. So to help us flesh out the late 80s and the 90s, where there was not a lot of live albums coming out, current new live albums, we've got a lot of archival stuff that came out in that period. So that'll help us kind of flesh out the latter part of this month, latter part of this series, right? So again, I'm going by release dates on all these. I know there are a few of you in the comments who are just going by record date. Hey, whatever you want to do, but that's not how I'm doing it. So today we've got two really cool ones here. My number one, kind of a given for this year. My runner-up, I had a couple that I was kind of going back and forth on. I ultimately decided to go with one that I just think is really representative of that band at that time, and it's excuse me, it's a sprawling live set, and that's what you want, right? But the first one is a classic, released September 10th, 1974. It was recorded at various different live dates late in 1973 and early 1974 at the infamous Roxy Theater. Okay. Released on the Discreet label produced by none other than Frank Zappa himself. Zappa and the Mothers, Roxy and Elsewhere. So, of course, this is the original album release on CD. I also have the big full-blown Megillah, right, which has got all sorts of cool stuff and additional material and what have you, but and the full shows and all that kind of stuff. But even on its own, the original is something to behold. Just an amazing live recording of perhaps one of Frank's best bands ever. All right. Roxy Theater, Hollywood, California. Infamous place. We've got in the band Frank Zappa on guitars, lead vocals, the main conductor, producer of the whole shebang. Jeff Simmons on rhythm guitar and vocals. Napoleon Murphy Brock on flute, tenor sax and vocals. George Duke, keyboard, synthesizer and vocals. You've got Don Preston on synthesizer. Bruce Fowler on trombone. Walt Fowler on trumpet, bass trumpet, Tom Fowler on bass guitar, Ralph Humphrey on drums, Chester Thompson on drums, Ruth Underwood on percussion, vibes, and all that sort of stuff. We got Robert Fra Camarena on backing vocals on one track, along with Debbie Wilson, Linda Sims, and Ruben Ladrón de Guevara also on backing vocals on one particular track. So, one of Frank's most legendary bands, the band that could kind of do it all, the band from hell, but he's had so many great lineups, right? So, what do you get on this? Well, on the original LP, starts thing off with Penguin in Bondage. It's just like a penguin in bondage, boy. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh. Just ridiculously zany, crazy stuff. Love it. Then you got Pygmy Twilight, pretty rockin' Pygmy and Twilight kind of short. Then you got Dummy Up, all right. Village of the Sun, really melodic, nice Napoleon Murphy Brock vocal on that. You got Echidna's Art of You. You got Don't You Ever Wash That Thing. Cheapness, the epic Cheapness, all about, classic 50s sci-fi horror movies with the big cheap rubber suit monsters, all that kind of stuff. Love it. Son of Orange County, which is fantastic. The really hard rockin' More Trouble Every Day, probably my favorite version of that song. Then you got the Bebop Tango of the Old Jazz Man's Church. That's the big sprawling kind of jazzy epic at the end, right? Just great stuff. Amazing musicianship throughout. Some classic Zappa guitar solos. The horns and the reeds just off the charts. Ruth Underwood, what an MVP, man. She's just all over this thing. So, absolutely Absolutely mandatory. Frank Zappa right there. That is my winner for 1974. On to the runner-up. So like I said, it was kind of up to, like, there were two that really were in the running here. One of them is a really kick-ass live album from a really good early heavy rock band from the New York area that I love a lot. But when it came right down to it, I had a hard time overlooking the magnificence of this album, which ironically in 1974, May of 1974, released first in Japan. Okay, this was originally only a Japanese release. And then eventually the rest of the world got introduced to this album. In Europe, it came out the following year. The very first official release in America was not till the early 90s, but this was available as an import. I knew a guy in the 80s who had the Japanese LP import of this, and he made me a cassette recording of this, and I was like, holy cow, it's so good. Anyway, I'm talking about Santana Lotus. Hey, when you see the glare and there's my face there, I can see my face enough. I don't need to see it twice, right? Yeah, big triple LP set of the Santana Band, recorded, like I said, in summer of 1973, but released officially in 1974. Recorded in Osaka, Japan, and originally released on the Columbia label. So who have we got here in the lineup at this point in time? Bear with me a second. Okay, so we got Carlos Santana on guitars, and some percussion and things like that. Backing vocals, Leon Thomas on vocals and maracas, Tom Coster on all sorts of different keyboards, Richard Kermode on Hammond organ, electric piano, Doug Rauch on bass, Armando Peraza, of course, on congas and percussion, Jose Chepito Arias on timbales, congas, and percussion, and Michael Shreve, the great Michael Shreve, on drums. Probably for me, one of the classic early Santana drummers, and they've had some really good ones. But so the original release, all sorts of crazy stuff on here. A lot of the great Santana tracks from early in their career, and lots of jams. This is like the ultimate Latin rock acid jam for the most part. You got Going Home, you got A1 Funk every step of the way. These are tracks from the Welcome album, Caravanserai, Abraxas. You've got Black Magic Woman, Gypsy Queen, Oye Como Va, Yours is the Light, Batucada. Got some new tracks on here, which is pretty cool. You got Zibaba, Stoneflower from Caravanserai. You got Waiting, Castillos de Arena Part 1, Free Angela, Samba de Sausalito, all right, Mantra, Kyoto, drum solo. You got Castillos de Arena Part 2, Se Acabó, all right, Samba Pati, a great Samba Pati, Savor, Toussaint L'Ouverture. That's amazing on here. Amazing. Talk about crazy, like, screaming guitars and keyboards and all the percussion, just amazing stuff. And then a big epic version of Incident at Nishabur, the classic from Abraxas, to close it all out. So, all told, about 2 hours worth of music on the original LP release and here on the CD. Just amazing stuff. What's interesting is what I read for you was the original LP track listing, but if you look at the CDs, they actually take some things out of order to fit perfectly, on the CDs themselves. So, but great stuff. The recording isn't the best. This is one of those classic live albums where I think most people are like, all right, not the cleanest sounding recording. It's kind of muddy in spots, and but you know what? That gives you the feel like you're kind of there in person. And I think, someone made a comment on one of the videos from the last day or two saying sometimes, you don't necessarily need a crystal clear recording on a live album because it kind of takes away of kind of, when you go to a concert, in most cases, it doesn't sound that way, right? You get it warts and all the sound problems, all the feedback, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes that's good too on a live album, because if the cleaner it is, it doesn't sound that much different from a studio release. Granted, there are some great live albums that sound absolutely perfect, and that's okay too. But I don't mind a live album that's warts and all kind of, and that's what you get with Lotus. I think just a really good, raw, in your face, just all sorts of stuff going on live album. Get all the percussions and all the crazy, Carlos was using the Echoplex at the time, right? So he's got that Echoplex unit, and so he's doing all this crazy, you know, all this kind of weird noises and things like that. And you got Coster's keyboards, and it's just a really good excursion into the Latin jazz rock of Santana at that time period, I think. You know, do you miss Greg Raleigh and his vocals? Sure. Because I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think, what is his name again? I don't think Leon Thomas was necessarily the greatest singer for this band. He does a okay job, but you do miss Greg Raleigh a little bit here by this time, already off in Journey, doing that whole thing. So there you have it, guys. Roxy and Elsewhere by Frank Zappa and the Mothers gets my number one pick. The runner-up is Santana, Lotus, two great gargantuan live albums that I think need to be in everyone's collection. So there you have it. Down in the comments below, please add in your favorite live album from 1974 as well as your runner-up. We've got 1975 coming up tomorrow, and then, man, it gets really tough. 76, 77, 78, 79. Oof, there are some amazing contenders in those years. So we are now, at this point, completely in the era of the live album, where every big band is, most of them anyway, are putting out really big, great, fantastic, legendary live albums. So this gets tougher and tougher as each day goes on. So thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course. We're here on YouTube all the damn time. For those of you who may not seen a couple of announcements, we had no Hudson Valley Squares last night. Yesterday was the Labor Day holiday here in the United States, and we were kind of hoping to squeak out a show with a couple of folks and some guests, but in the end, most people just couldn't make it. They had other things going on, family and friends. It is a holiday, so we decided to scrap the show at the last minute, but we are going to have the same program that we planned for last night is going to happen next week, so stay tuned for that. We've got In the Prague Seat coming up tonight. We've got What's Hot with Sea Tranquility tomorrow. For the multitude of people who have asked, Pete, when are you going to review the new Iron Maiden album? Well, it only just came out on Friday. I haven't even gotten my copy yet. So if it comes in before Wednesday, I will do my best. I don't want to really do a review listening to it once, because that really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's a new Iron Maiden. Got to have some time to digest it. So if I don't get it in like today and it comes in tomorrow, probably going to have to wait till next week for a review of it. That's just the way it goes. I mean, I'm not going to put up a review not listening to it, or listening to it once. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So be patient, please, everybody. People were asking for it Thursday and Friday. It hadn't even come out yet. So just hang in there. Patience, everybody. We've got the Monsters Den on Thursday, Friday morning at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff, and then album homework assignment coming up on Sunday. So stay tuned for that and a lot more. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. See you guys later on in the Prague Seat. Take care. Bye-bye.